attraction doesn't always show up in the way that you think it does. It's not always in compliments. It's not always obvious flirting. And it's definitely not women announcing it to your face. Hey, you're a fine man, right? In fact, some of the most attractive men walk around thinking that they're average, while women are quietly adjusting their behavior around them. So the real question, I believe, is this: are you actually more attractive than you think? And maybe just missing the signs? I got you today. Jessica OS here. Welcome to the channel. Sign number 1, women act slightly different around you. When a woman is genuinely attracted to you, her baseline changes just enough that if you're paying attention, you can actually feel it. A woman has a neutral mode. This is how she behaves around people that she feels indifferent about. Her tone is steady, her body language is relaxed but not engaged, and her attention comes and goes. There's no emotional investment. You're just another person in the environment. Now, contrast that with how she behaves when she's around a man that she's attracted to. Her awareness goes up. Suddenly, she's more conscious of how she's sitting, how she's standing, how she's coming across. You'll see her adjust her hair, touch her face, fix her clothes, or suddenly check her appearance in reflective surfaces. And you see, these aren't always dramatic gestures. Sometimes it's as small as smoothing her shirt or straightening her posture when you walk into the room. And here's a key insight: she's not doing this for attention. She's doing it because your presence raised her internal standard in that moment. You see, some women become more animated when they're attracted to you. They talk a little faster, laugh a little more, ask more questions than usual. It's like they're leaning into the interaction without fully realizing it. Others also go the opposite direction. They become slightly more reserved, quieter, maybe even a little awkward. But I noticed that men only realize the first type and completely miss the second. But both are reactions. If she's more expressive, she's trying to connect. If she's more reserved, she's trying not to overexpose herself. Either way, your presence is affecting her behavior. If a woman is behaving one way with everyone else, but her tone, posture, or engagement changes specifically when she interacts with you, that's your signal. Attraction creates contrast, and contrast is what you need to be paying attention to. For example, she might be casual and slightly detached in group conversations, but when you speak, she turns fully towards you, makes stronger eye contact, and stays locked in longer than necessary. That's not her being friendly, that's selective attention. Or she might interrupt you playfully, tease you a little more than others, or find small reasons to re-engage with you throughout the interaction. Again, that's not random. Attraction isn't always in her words, it's in her adjustments. And here's the mistake most men miss: they hesitate. They notice something feels different, but because it's not obvious enough, they second guess it. They tell themselves, maybe she's just friendly, or I don't want to misread this. So they do nothing. From her perspective, that moment passes. The window closes, the energy drops, and she assumes that you either didn't notice or didn't have the confidence to act. That's why understanding this sign matters, because the goal isn't to wait for certainty. The goal is to recognize when the environment has shifted in your favor. Sign number 2, you get respect before you even earn it. Now, most men think respect is something you grind for over time. And yes, long-term respect is earned, but initial respect, that's often given based on perception. And perception is where attractiveness quietly does its work. When you're a very attractive man, people don't meet you noodly. They meet you with assumptions already in place. They assume competence, confidence. They assume you have options, standards, and a certain level of self-respect. And they treat you accordingly before you've proven anything. Let's break down how this actually shows up in real life. So you walk into a room and conversations don't feel like you're fighting for space. People naturally make room for you. When you speak, others don't interrupt as quickly. There's a slight pause, a subtle attention shift, like what you're saying carries weight by default. Now, pay attention to this. You didn't demand that respect. You didn't assert your dominance. In fact, you didn't even prove your intelligence or your status yet, but it's already there. That's perceived value at work. When a man is attractive, not just physically, but in presence, women approach him differently. They don't challenge him immediately. They don't test him as aggressively in the beginning. And instead, what they do is observe. They watch how he carries himself, listen more than they speak. They give him space to reveal who he is instead of trying to figure out where he stands right away. And this is where a lot of men sabotage themselves. Why? Because they feel that initial respect, But instead of settling into it, they try to prove that they deserve it. So they start over talking, explaining, performing, but the moment you start trying too hard to justify your presence, you actually lower the perception that created that respect in the first place. Let that sink in. The respect wasn't given because you convinced anyone. It was given because of how you showed up. So, have you ever noticed situations where people defer to you without resistance? Or a woman seems to trust your judgment quickly, even on small decisions like where to go, what to order, how to handle something? That's not random trust, it's perceived authority. And authority is attractive. Sign number 3, women create opportunities for you to lead. Attraction, especially from a woman who respects herself, shows up as an invitation, not pursuit. And if you don't understand that difference, you'll miss opportunities that were practically given to you on a silver platter. When a woman is attracted to you, she rarely wants to do all the work. Get this. She wants to feel you step into your role as the man who leads, initiates, and moves things forward. But instead of telling you directly, she just creates all these openings, right? Subtle ones. She extends conversations longer than necessary. She asks follow-up questions that keep you engaged. She laughs a little more, lingers a little more, and positions herself in your space without giving you a clear script. Now, that's intentional. She's giving you a green light without saying the words. Now, if you're waiting for the green light that feels like a billboard, on the other hand, take it from me, you'll miss the opportunity. And hesitation is where attraction dies. Let's make this practical. So you're talking to a woman and the conversation should have naturally ended, but she says something like, "So what do you usually do after work?" That's not small talk. That's an opening. Or she says something like, "We should check that place out sometime," and then goes quiet. That's silence. That is your moment. She's not going to follow up with, "Do you want to take me on a date Friday at 7?" She's waiting to see if you can take that thread and pull it forward. Now, let's go deeper into that behavior. Watch how she re-enters your space. Maybe she walks away in a social setting and then circles back. Maybe she finds small reasons to restart a conversation. Maybe she positions herself physically closer than necessary and just enough to make engagement easy for you. These are not accidents. They're soft signals that say, if you step up, I'm open. But you see, this is where men overanalyze instead of act. And while they're stuck, in their head, the moment passes. From her perspective, she gave you multiple chances. And when you didn't take them, she interprets that in one of two ways. Either you're not interested or you don't have the confidence to lead. You don't need a flawless line. You see, you don't need to overthink the outcome. You just need to recognize the moment and move it forward. If she says, "Should we check out a place sometime?" your job is simple. Say, "Cool, let's go this week. When are you free?" That's leadership. Clear, direct, and grounded. Women feel safer and more attracted to men who can take these small signals and turn them into direction. Sign number 4, you trigger both attraction and intimidation. You see, the presence of an attractive man doesn't just create attraction. It creates pressure. And depending on the woman, that pressure can show up as hesitation, distance, or even coldness. So let's really unpack what's happening here. You see, when a woman perceives you as high value, whether that's through your looks, the confidence you exude, your presence, or the way others respond to you, she immediately starts evaluating her own position relative to you. And if she feels like she doesn't measure up, or that you have too many options, or that she might lose leverage in the interaction, her instinct is not always to lean in. Sometimes it just means she has to protect herself. And that protection can look like reduced eye contact, shorter responses, a more serious tone, even a slight edge in her attitude. She might seem less interested than she actually is because she's trying to maintain control over how she's perceived. Now, here's where men misinterpret this. They experience that distance and immediately label it as rejection. She's not into me. She seems cold. She's not giving me anything. So guess what? They pull back. Or worse, they try harder to win her over. They become more accommodating, more eager, more reactive. And that is the wrong move. Because what she's actually responding to is the fact that she feels you might have more value than she can comfortably handle in that moment. I'll explain. Have you ever had a woman who seemed slightly guarded with you at first, but over time, as you stayed consistent and grounded, she started opening up? Well, that wasn't her warming up randomly. That was her recalibrating. She needed to see if you were stable, if you weren't going to play games, if you weren't just another guy with options who would disappear or lose interest quickly just as soon as he got what he wanted. Now, let's go deeper into psychology. A woman who's very comfortable with herself may lean into attraction immediately. She'll flirt, engage, make things easier for you. But a woman who feels slightly insecure or who has been burned before or who is highly aware of social dynamics may approach attraction more cautiously because she's trying to manage the risk that comes with that. Now, here's the critical distinction that I think you should understand. Disinterest feels indifferent. Intimidation, on the other hand, feels controlled. Women who are not interested will be disengaged. But a woman who's intimidated is still engaged, but just carefully. She's listening. She's aware of you. She's responding, but with restraint. There's a tension there that you can feel if you're paying attention. And your job is not to chase that tension away, it's to stay grounded in it. Sign number 5, other men pay attention to you. Believe it or not, one of the clearest signals of your perceived value isn't just female attention. It's how other men behave when you enter the environment. Men are constantly scanning for hierarchy, not in a calculative way, but instinctively. The moment you walk into a space, other men are already placing you somewhere on the spectrum. Are you a threat? Are you competition? Are you irrelevant? That judgment happens lightning fast. It shows up in behavior long before anyone opens their mouths. I'll break it down, show you what it actually looks like. You see, you walk into a social setting and certain men become more alert. Their posture tightens slightly. Their tone shifts. They start paying closer attention to what they say and how others respond to you. Now, you might notice them even inserting themselves into conversations that you're a part of, trying to redirect attention to themselves or subtly challenging something that you said. It's not random, it's assessment, and in many cases, it's competition. Now, this doesn't mean every man is openly confrontational. In fact, most of it is very subtle. It's in the interruptions, the attempts to one-up you. It's in the way they suddenly become more performative when you're around. Have you ever been in a group where everything was relaxed, and then the moment you started engaging, another guy just suddenly becomes louder, more animated, more dominant in the conversation? That's him responding to your presence. If other men see you as a threat, that's information. And most importantly, it's confirmation that you are operating at a level that's being noticed. Now let's connect what I'm saying back to attraction. You see, women are highly observant of such social dynamics. They'll watch how men interact with each other. They notice who commands attention, who gets challenged, who gets followed, who gets ignored. So when other men react to you, whether through competition or deference, it doesn't go unnoticed. Just know that it actually amplifies your attractiveness. Now, here's where you need to be careful, because if you start reacting emotionally to other men, like trying to prove yourself, escalating unnecessary tension, or getting drawn into ego battles, what happens is you begin to lose control of the frame. Attractive men don't compete loudly. They don't need to. They stay composed. They don't overengage. They don't chase validation from other men in the room. They let their presence do the work. And that composure is what separates perceived value from insecurity. Sign number 6, you don't have to try too hard. And that's exactly why it works. Most guys operate from a place of proving. They're trying to say the right thing, send the perfect text, time their responses correctly, impress her with stories, make sure they don't mess up, right? Everything they do becomes calculated. Problem is, the more calculated you become, the more it signals that you're seeking some kind of an outcome. And you see, when you do that, you're subtly communicating that you need something from her. Attention, approval, validation. That neediness, even when it's disguised as effort, lowers your perceived value immediately. Now compare that to a man who's genuinely attractive. He's not trying to force chemistry. He's just present, engaged, but not attached to the outcome. That lack of attachment is what creates ease. Conversations flow because he's not trying to control them. His humor lands because it's not forced. His presence feels grounded because he's not constantly checking himself mid-interaction. Real ease comes from internal stability. You're not overly invested in whether this works or not because your sense of value is not tied to the outcome of this one interaction. You're good either way, and that's what creates the effortless vibe. If you're starting to recognize yourself in some of these signs, do something simple simple for me. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because this is the kind of clarity that most men never get. And the more you understand this, the less you'll second guess this yourself in dating. You see, attraction isn't about understanding the signals that are already happening around you. Most men aren't unattractive, they're just unaware, but now you know what to look for. The real question is this: what are you going to do with it? Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next video.